feel the subtle drag of another morning, perhaps the unwelcome blare of an alarm, or just the quiet, insistent hum of routines you've come to accept as inescapable. You stir, you reach for the device that immediately pulls you into the vast, often impersonal current of the digital world. The blue light of a screen becomes your first sunrise, filling your mind with headlines, notifications, and the curated lives of countless others. Then comes the commute, whether through bustling streets or the silent corridors of your own home office, a journey often undertaken with a sense of quiet resignation. You perform tasks, navigate expectations, attend meetings that may feel devoid of genuine purpose, or scroll through feeds that leave you feeling both connected and profoundly alone. Days bleed into weeks, weeks into months, a relentless, often unexamined rhythm. We live in a world overflowing with information, a cacophony of voices and opinions, with advice streaming from every screen, every self-proclaimed guru, every algorithm promising a faster, better, more optimized version of who you should be. We are bombarded by perfectly filtered images of success, whispered doctrines of what we must want, what we ought to achieve, how we are expected to feel. From the moment we open our eyes, 1,000 subtle and overt influences, both external and deeply internalized, begin to dictate our next move, our next thought, our next desire, our very sense of self. It's a societal blueprint, meticulously laid out, seemingly designed to keep us moving, consuming, and conforming, all while leaving a profound, often unspoken hunger in our souls. But in the midst of this overwhelming current, this ceaseless flow of external direction and inherited pathways, I urge you to pause for a moment. Take a truly deep, unsettling breath. Look inwards, beyond the noise, beyond the immediate demands. And honestly ask yourself, with a startling clarity in this world saturated with endless advice, with the crushing weight of societal expectations, with inherited visions of what constitutes a good life, whose life are you actually living? Are you merely tracing the well-worn paths others have laid out for you, perhaps generations ago? Or are you charting your own, undeniably unique course? Do you feel an insistent, almost primal tug, a powerful, yet often suppressed whisper in your soul, suggesting there's a vital, unexpressed truth about you, more to your existence, more to your potential, than what the established narratives and the comfortable routines tell you? Are you genuinely the architect of your own destiny, crafting your life deliberately, brick by painstaking brick? Or are you merely a diligent builder, following someone else's well-intentioned, yet ultimately restrictive blueprints? Are you living a life of profound authenticity, or are you simply fulfilling a role prescribed by the world around you, slowly dimming your own inner light? For centuries, humanity has grappled with these fundamental questions of purpose, identity, and meaning, often finding deceptive solace in established dogmas, in the reassuring comfort of conformity, in the collective embrace of conventional wisdom. But then, a truly revolutionary force erupted from the philosophical wilderness, not an academic confined to dusty lecture halls or a pundit delivering palatable truths, but a seismic figure, a radical, fiercely independent, rebel philosopher who dared to rip apart the comfortable lies we tell ourselves, about morality, about God, about truth itself. Friedrich Nietzsche was his name, and he didn't merely think about human potential, he raged about it, he soared with it, he plunged into its deepest, most terrifying, and ultimately most exhilarating abysses. He was a provocateur, a poet whose prose cut like a scalpel, a profound psychologist who exposed our deepest motivations, and a prophet whose visions for humanity were both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. His words resonate with an astonishing, sometimes unnerving clarity even today, challenging us to look unflinchingly at the world and ourselves. He was the one who looked at the human condition not as a fixed state, but as a boundless frontier, and didn't just ask, "What is man?" but more audaciously, more dangerously, "What can man become? What are the true, untrammeled limits of our self-creation, and who truly holds the keys to our ultimate liberation from the chains of inherited thought?" He offered no easy answers, no comforting creeds, but instead, he presented us with the most profound, most liberating, and perhaps most terrifying challenge imaginable: to become the solitary, sovereign creators of our own values, the fearless sculptors of our own souls, the conscious architects of our own unique world, independent of external dictates. His masterpiece, also Sprach Zarathustra, often translated as "Thus Spoke Zarathustra," is not just a book. It is a thundering declaration of independence for the human spirit. It is a fiery call to profound courage, a lyrical sermon urging us to transcend the ordinary, to shed the suffocating weights of convention, expectation, and the unexamined life, and to embrace the formidable, often solitary, task of self-overcoming. It speaks directly to that powerful yearning within you, that silent rebellion against the mediocrity you might sometimes perceive in your own life or the limiting frameworks imposed by the world around you. This isn't just another philosophical treatise to be intellectually admired from a distance. It's an intensely personal, revolutionary guide, a radical manifesto for anyone brave enough to claim their ultimate sovereignty, to step into their untapped power, and to forge a destiny that is truly, unequivocally, irrevocably their own. It is a journey into the very heart of what it means to be human, and more importantly, what it means to become more than merely human. Over the course of this transformative journey together, we will not merely dissect Nietzsche's profound words. We will engage with his audacious spirit, allowing it to ignite our own latent capacities. We will confront the uncomfortable, yet liberating, truths he laid bare, and we will find unparalleled inspiration in his audacious vision for human greatness and the creation of meaning. This video promises to be much more than an intellectual analysis. It is an urgent, deeply personal invitation. An invitation to explore a powerful roadmap not for mindlessly following, but for actively forging. With conscious intent and unwavering will your unique path towards becoming the unshakable, unapologetic, and infinitely creative architect of your own world, your own meaning, your own highest self, a self truly made by you for you. Prepare to be challenged at your core, to be profoundly ignited, and perhaps to finally begin living a life that is so robustly, so vibrantly, so utterly yours that the world can do nothing but take notice. Hello and welcome. If you're here, chances are you've either heard whispers about one of philosophy's most enigmatic and electrifying works, or perhaps you're already well acquainted with it, but curious for a fresh perspective. We are about to embark on a profound journey, not through a dusty academic text, but into the vibrant, dramatic, and often startling world of Friedrich Nietzsche's masterpiece, also Sprach Zarathustra, or as it's commonly known in English, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Now, when you first hear Nietzsche and philosophy, your mind might conjure images of dense, impenetrable prose, of complex theories that feel detached from the messy reality of everyday life. And truth be told, For many years, that was precisely my own mental picture, a formidable wall built by reputation. I remember the first time I tentatively picked up a copy of Zarathustra. The sheer volume, the almost biblical cadence of its language, the intimidating figure of Zarathustra himself, descending from his mountain to declare profound truths, it all felt incredibly daunting. It sat on my shelf for a long time, a silent challenge, a book I knew I should read, but one I feared I wouldn't understand. It felt like trying to scale a philosophical Everest without any climbing gear, a book that seemed written for a chosen few, for minds far grander and more prepared than my own. But then, as it often happens with truly great works, curiosity eventually won out over apprehension. I started to read, slowly at first, tripping over phrases, sometimes feeling completely lost in the whirlwind of metaphors and aphorisms. Yet persistently, something began to shift. What initially seemed like a collection of abstract philosophical pronouncements slowly revealed itself to be something entirely different, something far more visceral and alive. I started to perceive it not as a philosophical treatise in the traditional sense, but as an epic poem, a grand opera, a dramatic play unfolding on the stage of the human soul. It's the story of a prophet Zarathustra, a recluse who, after 10 years of solitude in the mountains, descends to humanity, brimming with wisdom and a burning desire to share it, even if his listeners aren't ready. It's a dramatic, poetic, and often humorous account of his journey, his teachings, his struggles, and his ultimate solitude. It's a book about self-overcoming, about creating your own values, about embracing life in all its brutal beauty. That initial struggle, that sense of bewilderment, eventually blossomed into a profound, life-altering experience. As I pushed past the initial intimidation, past the layers of conventional interpretation, I began to hear the music in Nietzsche's words, to feel the raw, pulsating energy behind Zarathustra's pronouncements. This book didn't just offer new ideas, it offered a new lens through which to view existence itself. It challenged my preconceived notions of morality, purpose, and even what it meant to be human. It was a catalyst, a spark that ignited a journey of self-inquiry and transformation that continues to this day. It showed me that philosophy isn't just for academics, it's a vital living force capable of reshaping our lives from the inside out. And that, fundamentally, is the core purpose of this video series. We're not here to dissect Thus Spoke Zarathustra as a dry academic exercise or to get bogged down in obscure scholarly debates. My goal is far more intimate and practical: to translate Zarathustra's timeless wisdom, his radical insights, and his provocative challenges into actionable, relatable insights for our 21st century lives. How do his concepts of the Übermensch, the will to power, or the eternal recurrence, truly speak to us in an age of constant digital connection, information overload, and ever-shifting values? How can his call to become who you are resonate when the world constantly tells us who we should be? This isn't about memorizing Nietzschean terminology or understanding every historical context, though we'll touch on those where helpful. Instead, it's about extracting the raw, empowering essence of Zarathustra's message and exploring how we can apply his profound insights to navigate our modern anxieties, find our own unique purpose, and truly live more authentically and robustly. We'll be looking for practical wisdom, for tools to forge stronger selves, and for perspectives that empower us to embrace life's challenges with courage and creativity. So consider this less a lecture hall and more an invitation to an adventure. I'm not standing here as an infallible guru or a detached professor. Instead, I'm inviting you to join me as a fellow explorer on this intellectual and spiritual expedition. We will climb these philosophical mountains together, peer into these existential valleys, and wrestle with these powerful ideas side by side. Bring your questions, bring your open mind, and most importantly, bring your willingness to confront some of the deepest questions about human existence. Together, let's rediscover the thrilling, life-altering power of Zarathustra. Welcome to Chapter 1, The Three Metamorphoses: Your Path to Growth. Here we embark on a profound journey, guided by Zarathustra's most accessible and yet deeply philosophical allegory, the transformation of the spirit. Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, doesn't just present a tale, he offers a practical model for personal and psychological evolution, a roadmap for anyone striving to become more authentically themselves. It's a journey from unquestioning duty to defiant freedom, and finally, to the joyful act of creation. Our journey begins with the spirit of the camel. Imagine a magnificent, burden-bearing beast kneeling reverently in the desert, asking, what is the heaviest thing? This spirit is defined by its willingness to take on enormous loads, to embrace duty, discipline, and tradition. The camel represents the stage where we absorb the values, rules, and expectations of society and our upbringing. It is the spirit that says, "Thou shalt." Think about our own lives. From a young age, we are conditioned by countless "thou shalts." Thou shalt get good grades, thou shalt choose a stable career, thou shalt conform to social norms, thou shalt respect authority. This is the camel spirit within us, carrying the heavy baggage of inherited morality, societal pressures, and conventional wisdom. We often spend our early adulthood in this phase, diligently pursuing career paths deemed successful, upholding family traditions, or following predefined religious or political doctrines. We might feel a sense of purpose and even comfort in these structures, finding security in the well-trodden path. The camel endures the long journey, the arid landscapes, accepting hardship and self-denial. It is a necessary stage, one of learning, discipline, and respect for what has come before. But as the journey wears on, as the burdens accumulate, a different craving begins to stir within this spirit, a yearning for a freedom it has not yet known. The camel, after all its arduous carrying, eventually desires to be unburdened. This desire for freedom culminates in the metamorphosis to the lion. Having endured the desert and its heavy loads, the spirit now seeks to conquer its own wilderness. The lion, unlike the camel, is not content to merely carry. It roars, it asserts, it demands. This is the spirit of rebellion, the will to destroy old values and create space for new ones. The lion confronts a mighty dragon whose scales glitter with 1,000 thou shalts, all the established norms, dogmas, and moralities that restrict individual freedom. The lion's battle cry is, "I will." This stage marks a pivotal break from conformity. It's when we begin to question the very burdens we once carried so dutifully. Perhaps it's challenging a long-held family belief system, leaving a career that no longer fulfills us despite its perceived stability, or speaking out against societal injustices we once silently accepted. The lion's purpose is not wanton destruction, but liberation. It tears down the old structures that have become prisons, not because it hates the past, but because it yearns for autonomy. It seeks to be master of its own values, to forge its own path, free from external command. It is a terrifying, exhilarating, and often lonely stage, as the lion must stand alone against the weight of tradition. But this act of courageous negation, This fierce no to what is imposed is essential for clearing the ground. Yet, even the lion's freedom, won through battle, is not the ultimate goal. Its freedom is a freedom from external authority, from inherited dogma. It has cleared the space, but now that space needs to be filled. And so, the spirit undergoes its final and most profound transformation, becoming the child. After the lion has roared its "I will" and shattered the "thou shalts," a new beginning emerges from the cleared wreckage. The child represents the spirit of pure creation, of innocence, of forgetting, and of new beginnings. It is a self-propelling wheel, moving entirely of its own accord. The child's declaration is a sacred yes. This stage is about affirming life, not just rejecting what came before. It's about finding a new purpose, not dictated by others, but born from within. The child plays spontaneously, without ulterior motive, creating its own world, its own values, its own meaning. Think of the boundless curiosity, the uninhibited joy, and the imaginative power of a young child. After the discipline of the camel and the destructive courage of the lion, the child embodies a radical new innocence, an innocence that is earned, not naive. It is the ability to say yes to life, to embrace its challenges and opportunities with fresh eyes and an open heart. This is where we transcend mere freedom from constraints and move into freedom for creation. It's about pursuing your deepest passions, defining your own ethics, and building a life that resonates with your unique spirit. It's about becoming the artist of your own existence, painting your world with colors of your own choosing. The journey of the three metamorphoses, from the dutiful camel to the rebellious lion, and finally, to the creating child, is not a linear path that you complete once and for all. Rather, it's a dynamic, ongoing process that you might cycle through multiple times in different aspects of your life. You might be a camel in your career, a lion in your personal relationships, and a child in your creative pursuits. Understanding these stages offers a powerful lens through which to examine your own journey of self-overcoming and growth. Where are you currently carrying heavy burdens that are no longer serving you? What thou shalts in your life need to be confronted and overcome? And what sacred yes awaits your unique spirit, urging you to create new meaning and purpose for yourself? Zarathustra invites you not just to understand this allegory, but to live it, to constantly evolve and become the author of your own becoming. Chapter 2. The Death of God and the Last Man. It's a phrase that echoes through philosophy, literature, and popular culture, often quoted, frequently misunderstood, and almost always uttered with a dramatic flourish: God is dead. For many, it conjures images of an atheist manifesto, a declaration against faith, or perhaps a nihilistic sneer. But in the landscape of Nietzsche's "Thus Spoke Zarathustra," this isn't a literal pronouncement about a deity ceasing to exist. Instead, it's a profound, almost tragic observation about the state of humanity and the future of Western civilization. Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, isn't celebrating the demise of a cosmic figure. He's announcing the collapse of the overarching, transcendent framework that had for centuries provided humanity with its universal truths, its moral compass, and its ultimate sense of purpose. Imagine the firmament of shared beliefs, the bedrock of divine law, absolute good and evil, inherent meaning in suffering, and a promised afterlife suddenly shattering. That's the death of God. It's the realization that these foundational myths, stories, and belief systems, which once gave life its structure and its values, are no longer credible, no longer binding for an increasingly secular and scientific age. This isn't just about religion, though that's a significant part of it. It's about the erosion of any universally accepted source of objective values. If God or any equivalent transcendent principle is no longer seen as the ultimate guarantor of truth and morality, then what are we left with? A vast, dizzying vacuum of meaning. Good and evil, purpose and despair, truth and falsehood are suddenly unmoored. They no longer come pre-packaged from on high, but must now be forged, created, and chosen by humanity itself. This revelation, as Nietzsche dramatically describes it through the lament of his madman in The Gay Science, is a cataclysmic event, not a cause for simple celebration. It's a challenge of terrifying proportions, placing the immense burden of value creation squarely on our shoulders. How do we respond to such a challenge? Do we embrace this terrifying freedom, this immense responsibility to become creators of our own meaning and values? Or do we recoil from it, seeking refuge in easier paths? This brings us to Nietzsche's chilling prophecy, The Last Man. The Last Man is Nietzsche's ultimate warning, a stark contrast to the aspirational Overman. He is not a villain, he is in many ways far more insidious. The Last Man is humanity's ultimate retreat from the responsibility and potential that the death of God demands. He is the creature of pure comfort, the ultimate seeker of safety and trivial happiness. He blinks. What does he blink at? At anything that demands effort, anything that requires struggle, anything that challenges his placid existence. The Last Man has seen the void left by the fallen gods and responded not with creation, but with evasion. He wants no grand ambitions, no passionate struggles, no dangerous adventures of the spirit. He despises anything that makes him uncomfortable or distinguishes him from others. He prefers warmth, security, and a superficial sense of contentment above all else. His ideal world is one where everyone is equal, everyone is safe, and everyone has their small pleasures. We have discovered happiness, he says, and blinks. His happiness is the happiness of a domesticated animal, a tranquilized existence devoid of soaring peaks or agonizing depths. Consider the hallmarks of our own modern age, and you might see the specter of the last man lurking. Think of mindless consumerism, the endless pursuit of transient gratification through acquiring more things designed to distract us from deeper questions and anxieties. We are encouraged to want, to buy, to consume, often without reflecting on what truly enriches our lives. This constant cycle of acquisition offers a kind of superficial happiness that requires little effort and even less genuine self-reflection. Then there's the pervasive risk aversion, a collective allergy to failure or discomfort. We strive for guaranteed outcomes, for paths of least resistance, for curated experiences that promise only delight and zero distress. The pursuit of safety, both physical and emotional, can become so overwhelming that we avoid any endeavor that might demand courage, resilience, or the acceptance of pain as a part of growth. We seek safe spaces, not just from physical harm, but from challenging ideas and uncomfortable truths, preferring echo chambers that affirm our existing beliefs rather than expand our understanding. And what about the constant stream of curated content and validation on social media? Here, self-worth is often measured by likes and shares, and individuality is frequently suppressed in favor of conforming to fleeting trends or groupthink. Critical thought is replaced by outrage cycles, and genuine connection is traded for superficial digital interactions. We become spectators of our own lives, curating an image of effortless happiness, while real struggle and authentic self-expression are often hidden or shamed. In each of these tendencies, the craving for comfort, the avoidance of struggle, the pursuit of trivial happiness, the fear of genuine uniqueness, we see the shadow of the last man. He represents the ultimate danger, not a violent overthrow of society, but a slow, comfortable atrophy of the human spirit. He is the ultimate surrender to mediocrity, the refusal to embrace the daunting, yet exhilarating, task of self-overcoming and value creation in a world without absolute anchors. So, as we navigate this post-God world, where the old foundations have crumbled, we are left with a fundamental choice. Will we succumb to the blinkered comfort of the last man, content with our small, safe pleasures and endless distractions? Or will we heed Zarathustra's call, embrace the terrifying freedom of the death of God, and rise to the challenge of building a world for something more? A world where greatness, creativity, and genuine human flourishing are not just possible, but actively sought, even in the face of uncertainty and struggle. Welcome back to our journey through the profound wisdom of Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra. In our previous chapters, we laid the groundwork for understanding the landscape Zarathustra inhabits, a world ripe for re-evaluation and the forging of new meaning. Now, we arrive at what is arguably Nietzsche's most famous and certainly his most frequently misunderstood concept, the Übermensch, often translated as the Overman or Superman. For many, the very word Superman conjures images of superhuman strength, physical prowess, or even worse, a distorted ideal of racial superiority that was tragically company-opted and perverted by malevolent ideologies in the 20th century. Let me be unequivocally clear from the outset, this interpretation is a grotesque misrepresentation of Nietzsche's vision. Zarathustra's Overman has nothing to do with eugenics, genetic purity, or the dominion of one group over another. Its strength is not primarily physical, nor is it based on any inherent biological hierarchy. Instead, it is fundamentally spiritual, psychological, and intellectual. It is about an internal overcoming, a profound transformation of the self, aimed at elevating human potential, not subjugating it. Nietzsche himself would have been horrified by the use of his philosophy to justify such atrocities. His writings were an appeal to individuals to transcend themselves, to become more, not an endorsement of collective, oppressive power structures. So, if it's not about physical or racial superiority, what is the Overman? At its core, the Overman is a person who has mastered themselves, who has overcome the petty, reactive, and herd mentality aspects of human nature. They are not content with inherited values or passively accepting societal norms. Instead, they become a creator of their own values, guided by an inner compass that affirms life in its totality, including its pain, its suffering, and its joyous triumphs. The Overman embraces the full spectrum of existence, not shrinking from its difficulties, but finding meaning and strength within them. This isn't a being free from struggle, but one who chooses struggle as a path to growth. They say yes to life, not despite its challenges, but because of them, understanding that these very challenges forge their strength and define their unique path. They are, in essence, becoming who they truly are by actively shaping that self. To understand this concept further, let's look beyond the grand philosophical pronouncements and consider everyday examples. You don't need capes or superpowers to embody the spirit of the Overman. Think of the artist who pushes the boundaries of their craft, defying conventional expectations to create something truly original, something that speaks directly from their soul and reshapes our perception of beauty or truth. They face ridicule, doubt, and financial insecurity, yet they persevere, driven by an unwavering internal vision. This is an act of self-overcoming, of asserting one's creative will against resistance, forging their unique identity in the process. Consider the entrepreneur who builds a vision from the ground up, not merely for profit, but to solve a problem, to create something new, to leave a unique mark on the world. They navigate uncertainty, overcome setbacks, and inspire others through sheer force of their creative will and their courage to forge a new path where none existed before. They are not defined by external success alone, but by the resilience and determination with which they pursue their self-made ideal, continually overcoming obstacles, both external and internal. Or, perhaps most universally relatable, think of the individual who diligently works to master their own impulses, the urge for immediate gratification, the tendency towards resentment or envy, the fear of standing apart. This could be someone who dedicates themselves to years of difficult practice to master a skill, or someone who cultivates radical honesty and integrity in their relationships, even when it's uncomfortable. It's the person who confronts their own internal weaknesses, acknowledges them, and consciously chooses to rise above them, shaping their character through discipline and conscious effort. These are acts of daily heroism, quiet revolutions of the self, all contributing to the profound process of becoming who you are. What's crucial to grasp is that the Overman is not a static destination, an endpoint you reach and then simply are. It is, rather, a dynamic direction, a constant process of becoming, a perpetual self-overcoming. It's a journey, not an arrival. There is no moment where one suddenly becomes the Overman and rests on their laurels. Instead, it's an ongoing striving, a continuous ascent. Each challenge overcome, each value created, each impulse mastered is but a step on a lifelong path of growth and transformation. It means constantly questioning, constantly re-evaluating, constantly pushing the boundaries of what you thought possible for yourself. It is the unending affirmation of life, embraced with courage and creativity, striving always to create meaning and value in a world that offers none pre-made, but where meaning can be forged through your own will. This radical notion of self-creation, of becoming who you are by actively crafting yourself, is Zarathustra's greatest gift and greatest challenge. It demands courage, independence, and an unwavering will to grow. It asks us to look within, to identify our greatest potential, and then to relentlessly work towards realizing it, not for external validation, but for the sheer joy and affirmation of life itself. It is the ultimate invitation to live a life fully realized, a life of self-mastery and continuous creation. Welcome to Chapter 4, The Will to Power Your Inner Drive. Among all of Nietzsche's profound and often challenging ideas within Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the concept of the will to power stands out as arguably the most frequently misunderstood and certainly the most controversially interpreted. It's a concept that has been distorted, often deliberately, reduced to a simplistic and grim desire for raw, unbridled control, a ruthless thirst for domination over others, and even linked to ideologies of oppression. But to truly grasp Zarathustra's radical, life-affirming message indeed, to understand Nietzsche's very philosophy, we must meticulously peel back these layers of persistent misinterpretation and uncover the profound, deeply personal, and often exhilarating core of what he truly meant. Let's dismantle that common misconception right away. Forget the image of the aggressive, ruthless tyrant or the oppressive overlord seeking to crush all beneath their heel. Nietzsche's will to power is emphatically not primarily about external dominance over other individuals or groups, nor is it a call for aggression. Instead, it speaks to an internal, fundamental, and indeed, universal drive inherent in all life, the relentless impulse for growth, for continuous self-expansion, and, most crucially, for genuine mastery over oneself. It is not the will to suppress others, but rather the challenging, yet ultimately liberating, will to overcome oneself. It is the deep-seated inherent urge within all living things to actualize their highest potential, to perpetually push their current boundaries, and ultimately to become more than they currently are, to strive for an ever greater expression of their being. Think of it this way: when you consciously decide to embark on the journey of learning a new, complex skill, perhaps mastering a demanding programming language, learning to play a challenging musical instrument, or even becoming fluent in a nuanced foreign tongue, what is the primary force driving your persistent effort? Is it truly the desire to control other programmers, to intimidate native speakers, or to merely outshine every other musician? Unlikely, and certainly not as the core motivation. It's far more about the inherent satisfaction of intellectual conquest, the expansion of your own personal capabilities, the profound joy that comes from confronting a challenge and mastering something previously unknown or difficult. That, in its purest and most constructive essence, is the will to power powerfully at work within you. Consider an athlete who dedicates countless hours, weeks, and months to training relentlessly for a marathon, an Ironman, or an Olympic event. They willingly endure physical pain, push past mental exhaustion, and make significant sacrifices of comfort and leisure. Are they primarily doing this solely to dominate every other competitor in the field? While a competitive spirit may play a role, far more profoundly, they are striving against their own physical and mental limitations, seeking to master their body's endurance, to achieve a new personal best that surpasses their previous self. They are engaged in an intense, personal battle, not primarily with an external opponent, but with their former, less capable, and perhaps less disciplined self. This relentless drive to self-overcome, to transcend one's current state of being, to constantly improve and exceed past achievements, is an incredibly vivid and positive manifestation of the will to power. Or imagine a dedicated musician who spends countless hours, often in solitary practice, meticulously perfecting a notoriously difficult classical piece, perhaps a Chopin nocturne or a complex Bach fugue. It demands incredible technical discipline, pinpoint precision, and immense emotional depth. Their dedicated pursuit is fundamentally not about subjugating an audience through sheer volume or about merely outshining fellow performers in a grand display, but about achieving a profound internal resonance, about bringing forth intricate beauty and harmonious order from the inherent complexity of sound, and about pushing their artistic and technical limits to an entirely new echelon. It's about the intrinsic reward of self-mastery, the deep satisfaction of creating something magnificent and deeply moving through sheer personal effort and sustained commitment. These are unequivocally not acts of aggression or external domination. They are, at their very core, acts of profound self-creation, self-refinement, and ultimately self-transcendence. The will to power is the inherent, dynamic impulse to grow, to develop, to refine, to challenge existing norms, to create new values, to give deeper meaning to one's existence, and to ultimately become stronger, richer, and more complex in one's unique being. It is the potent affirmation of life in its highest, most striving, and most creative forms. Remember our transformative journey from the patient, burden-bearing camel, weighed down by the heavy traditions and duties of the past, to the roaring lion who fearlessly asserts "I will" and courageously destroys old, limiting values, and finally to the innocent, playful child who, in joyful affirmation, creates entirely new values from within. The will to power is the very engine, the primal force that fuels this entire profound transformation. It is the unyielding, vital energy that drives the camel to yearn for and seek its freedom, that empowers the lion to boldly forge its own independent path, and that ultimately inspires the child to dance, to play, and to innocently create its own vibrant, unique world. Without this intrinsic will to overcome, to grow, to create, the essential journey from burdensome conformity to joyful, authentic self-creation would simply stall, leaving us trapped in stagnation. It is the essential, vital energy that relentlessly propels us forward, breaking down old, outmoded constraints and building exciting new realities for ourselves, shaping our very destiny and fostering true self-mastery. So, as we conclude this chapter, I invite you, the listener, to deeply reflect where in your own rich and complex life does this constructive, life-affirming will to power manifest most clearly and powerfully. Where do you find yourself genuinely driven to grow, to learn, to improve, to master something not primarily for external validation, fleeting recognition, or undue control over others, but for the sheer, profound satisfaction of self-expansion and personal flourishing? Is it vividly apparent in your professional career, perhaps as you strive for new skills, responsibilities, and deeper understanding within your field? Is it passionately expressed in a cherished hobby, as you diligently master a demanding craft or an intricate art form, purely for the love of it? Or is it most evident in your personal development, as you bravely overcome a significant challenge, a persistent habit, or a limiting belief that once held you back from realizing your truest potential? Recognizing and consciously understanding this internal wellspring of drive is absolutely crucial, for it allows us to purposefully harness its immense, transformative energy. It fundamentally transforms the concept from what might initially seem like a dark, foreboding, and potentially aggressive drive into a vibrant, deeply positive, and profoundly life-affirming force for continuous personal evolution and the pursuit of excellence. It is the very core of what it truly means to become who you are, to meticulously sculpt yourself into your highest, most authentic potential. Embrace this powerful inner drive, for it is the very essence of your extraordinary capacity for self-creation and enduring greatness, a testament to life's inherent striving. Welcome, discerning listeners, to a pivotal chapter in our journey through the monumental philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche's also sprach Zarathustra. Today, we confront an idea that has both captivated and terrified thinkers for over a century: the concept of eternal recurrence. This isn't merely an abstract cosmological hypothesis or a quirky thought experiment. It is, at its very core, an immensely powerful psychological instrument, a profound and radical challenge designed to fundamentally reevaluate and reshape the trajectory of your existence, guiding you toward a life of profound meaning and unwavering affirmation. Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, presents us with the ultimate litmus test for the quality of our spirit and the authenticity of our choices. It is a concept that demands courage, honesty, and a willingness to look deep into the abyss of our own becoming. Imagine, if you will, that the grand narrative of time is not a linear progression from past to future, but rather an infinitely looping cycle. Picture the cosmos as an immense, cosmic clock, destined to repeat every tick, every tock, every single moment, precisely as it has occurred. Envision not just the grand sweep of history, but the minutiae of your own personal journey, every breath you've taken, every word you've spoken, every thought that has flickered through your mind, every joy, every sorrow, every success, every failure, every love, every loss. Now, project this vision into eternity. Consider that you, with all your particularities, your unique consciousness, your specific history, are destined to live this very life, this exact sequence of events, this precise concatenation of experiences, again and again without end, for an infinite duration. With this staggering thought firmly in mind, I pose Zarathustra's most challenging question: if you had to live this very moment, this present instant, and indeed your entire life, precisely as you have lived it, with all its triumphs and tragedies, its certainties and its doubts, its glories and its shames, again and again for eternity, how would you truly, deeply, unequivocally feel? This is not a theoretical musing, it is the most penetrating and demanding test of your current existence. Your immediate, visceral reaction to this proposition reveals the core truth about the life you are leading. Does the thought of reliving this exact life perpetually fill you with an exhilarating, profound sense of joy? Does it inspire in you a fervent, unshakable desire to embrace every single detail, every memory, every experience, every interaction, precisely as it unfolded, without wishing for a single alteration? Do you feel a jubilant affirmation, a passionate yes, to every moment, every event, every circumstance that has shaped you? Or, conversely, does this same thought descend upon you like an existential nightmare, a chilling dread that grips your very soul? Does it plunge you into a profound despair, a terrifying sense of being trapped in an endless loop of regret, unfulfilled potential, missed opportunities, or choices you now wish you could undo? Your answer to this question, whether it be a cheer or a shudder, acts as the definitive measure of how fully and authentically you are living. Nietzsche's presentation of eternal recurrence, therefore, serves a supremely practical and transformative purpose. He isn't necessarily asserting it as a scientific cosmology, although he did ponder its scientific plausibility, but rather unleashing it as a psychological tool of unparalleled power, a philosophical hammer designed to shatter complacency and compel radical self-overcoming. Its primary objective is to force you into an intense, uncompromising confrontation with the absolute quality of your life, here and now, in every decision you make, in every value you uphold, in every path you choose. It is a relentless call to responsibility, an urgent imperative to scrutinize with unflinching honesty every action, every intention, every relationship, every aspiration. If the prospect of endless repetition generates feelings of dread or profound dissatisfaction, it functions as a stark and undeniable warning. You are currently living a life that you do not, at your deepest level, fully affirm. It serves as an immense impetus to change, to consciously and deliberately sculpt your existence with such meticulous intention, such passionate engagement, and such unwavering authenticity that you would not merely tolerate, but would enthusiastically, even ecstatically, celebrate the opportunity to repeat it, moment by moment, for all eternity. Every single choice you confront, every word you consider uttering, every path you either embrace or reject, suddenly acquires an infinite and profound gravity, carrying the weight of endless repetition. This thought experiment thus becomes an ever-present internal compass, guiding you towards choices that elevate your spirit and enhance your being. This transformative process, ignited by the contemplation of eternal recurrence, ultimately leads us to one of Nietzsche's most profound and beautiful concepts, amor fati, the love of one's fate. It is crucial to understand that amor fati is far from a passive resignation or a stoic endurance of life's hardships. On the contrary, it represents an active, courageous, and joyous affirmation of everything that constitutes your life, not merely the triumphs, the joys, the moments of effortless grace, but equally the failures, the heartbreaks, the periods of profound suffering, the moments of doubt, and even the seemingly random misfortunes that appear to be beyond your control. To achieve amor fati is to develop the capacity to gaze upon your entire life, from its earliest memories to its present unfolding, and declare with a wholehearted and unconditional yes. This, too, was necessary. This, too, was an indispensable thread in the intricate, unique tapestry of my becoming. I would not, for an instant, wish it otherwise. It is to transcend the simplistic division of life into good and bad, into what you desire and what you reject, and instead to perceive it as a singular, indivisible work of art, a living masterpiece that you are both creating through your choices and inhabiting through your experience. It means finding profound beauty even amidst the struggle, discovering profound meaning even within the deepest pain, recognizing that these challenging and arduous elements are not obstacles to your growth, but rather the very crucible in which your strength, your resilience, your wisdom, and your utterly unique character are forged. Amor fati demands that we not only bear what is necessary, but that we love it, that we view it as intrinsically valuable to the person we are becoming. It is the ultimate expression of self-affirmation, an unreserved embrace of destiny as a company creator rather than a mere recipient. Therefore, the eternal recurrence, far from being a grim pronouncement, serves as an exhilarating invitation. It beckons you to live with an unparalleled intensity, with an unwavering awareness, and with such a powerful, unqualified affirmation that your life itself transcends the mundane and becomes a work of art so magnificent, so perfectly realized, so authentically yours, that it is worthy of infinite repetition. It is the ultimate catalyst for profound personal transformation, guiding you not towards some distant, abstract utopia, but directly towards the radical, joyful affirmation of this life, this present moment, this evolving self as possessing eternal value and meaning. With this bold and uncompromising vision, Zarathustra challenges each of us to rise to the occasion, to become the deliberate and courageous authors of a life story so compelling, so deeply cherished, that we would proudly sign our name to it, not just once but forever, through all the endless cycles of eternity. This thought, once truly grasped, transforms every subsequent choice into a profound act of self-creation, urging you to live each day as if it were the only one, and yet also as if it were to be repeated without end. Welcome back to our journey through Thus Spoke Zarathustra. We arrive now at Chapter 6, aptly titled Leaving the Mountain, Find Your Own Way. This isn't merely a narrative point in Zarathustra's story, it's the profound culmination of his entire message, a final, crucial lesson that echoes far beyond the pages of this book and challenges the very nature of wisdom itself. After a decade in solitude, then another decade teaching and gathering a small, devoted band of disciples, Zarathustra makes his final, symbolic ascent. He's ready to descend once more, but this time he will not take his followers with him. The moment is charged with both tenderness and resolute challenge. He tells them, not as a command to obey, but as a profound injunction to self-discovery, go away from me and guard yourselves against Zarathustra, and even better, be ashamed of him. Perhaps he deceived you. He continues with a poignant truth that transcends time. One repays a teacher badly if one always remains only a pupil. This is a radical departure from the traditional model of a spiritual leader, leaving behind a fixed doctrine or an enduring institution. Zarathustra isn't founding a church, he's dissolving one before it can even begin. This is the moment of ultimate liberation for his disciples and for us, his readers. Zarathustra isn't just saying goodbye, he's actively dismantling the very notion of a static master-disciple relationship, which he sees as inherently limiting and ultimately detrimental to true growth. He isn't sending them out to spread his word, but to find their own. You have not yet sought yourselves, he admonishes, with a sharp observation of human nature, then you found me. Thus do all believers, therefore all belief is of so little account. He wants them to leave the comfortable, albeit demanding, shadow of his mountain, of his teachings, and step into their own sun, to forge their unique identity in the blinding light of self-responsibility and individual creation. This pronouncement is critical, not just for Zarathustra's fictional disciples, but for every single reader of Nietzsche, and indeed, for anyone engaging with profound philosophical thought. The greatest danger he implies is to become a mere echo, a passive recipient, a parrot of another's wisdom. To simply adopt Zarathustra's ideas or any philosopher's ideas, including Nietzsche's own, without rigorous internal struggle and profound personal transformation is to miss the entire point. It's to fall into the trap of dogma, even if that dogma comes from a supposedly anti-dogmatic source. Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, is issuing a vehement warning against becoming Zarathustrians in the sense of unthinking followers blindly repeating tenets. He would likely be horrified by the prospect of an uncritical cult built around his own complex, often contradictory, and fiercely individualistic philosophy. Such passive acceptance would negate the very spirit of independent thought and self-overcoming that lies at the heart of his work. The history of ideas is replete with examples of powerful philosophies being reduced to slogans by uncritical adherents, often with disastrous consequences. Zarathustra demands more. He demands active, personal engagement. The true challenge, then, is to take these profound and often unsettling ideas, not as finished doctrines to be memorized or revered, but as potent tools. Tools to forge your own path, to chisel out your own values, to construct your own unique understanding of existence. This means engaging with them actively, critically, and even skeptically. It demands questioning them relentlessly, wrestling with their implications in the context of your own life, and even, crucially, challenging them when they no longer resonate with your evolving truth. It means letting them ignite a fire within you, a creative flame that compels you to build, rather than allowing them to become a comfortable intellectual blanket that merely offers solace without demanding growth. To truly understand Zarathustra, you must become your own Zarathustra. You must embark on your personal journey from the camel, the burden-bearer of tradition and duty, through the lion, the destroyer of old values and limitations, to the child, the innocent, self-affirming creator of new ones. This journey is uniquely yours, and no teacher, however wise or inspiring, can walk it for you. Your interpretation, your synthesis, your re-evaluation, that is where the true value lies. This brings us to the ultimate paradox of true teaching. The profound success of a genuine teacher is measured precisely by their eventual obsolescence. A truly great mentor doesn't seek to create carbon copies of themselves or to build a lasting institution dedicated to their memory, but to empower their students to surpass them, to become autonomous, self-legislating individuals who no longer require guidance. Zarathustra's departure is not an abandonment, it is the ultimate act of faith in his disciples' potential. He believes they are ready to stand alone, to create their own sun, and to discover the paths that only they can walk, paths that are perhaps even more glorious than his own. His role was to point the way, to offer new perspectives, to shake them out of their complacency and ingrained habits of thought, to inspire them to greatness, but never to provide a definitive, immutable map for their entire journey. The map, he insists, must be drawn by each individual, in their own hand, on their own unique terrain. Only then can they truly say they have lived. As we close this chapter, and indeed our comprehensive exploration of Zarathustra's core message, let this be the most enduring and vital takeaway. Do not simply consume these ideas, interact with them. Do not merely follow Nietzsche, confront him, engage with him, and allow his thoughts to provoke your own independent inquiry. His philosophy, like Zarathustra's teachings, is not a destination, but a powerful, often challenging springboard. It's an audacious invitation to embark on your own grand adventure of self-overcoming, self-creation, and the continuous re-evaluation of all values. The mountain has been left, the teacher has departed, and the comfort of external guidance has dissolved. Now truly, the path is entirely yours. Find your own way. We've journeyed through the desolate plains of the camel, soared with the defiant lion, and rediscovered the innocent affirmation of the child. We've even grappled with the cosmic weight of eternal recurrence and the profound embrace of Amor Fati. But what does this mean for your Tuesday morning or your Friday night? How do these colossal ideas translate into the texture of your daily existence? This isn't just philosophy to ponder, it's a philosophy to live. And so, we arrive at your 7-day Zarathustra action plan, a concrete, step-by-step guide designed to help you transform these profound concepts into tangible actions, infusing your life with Nietzsche's radical spirit of self-overcoming and self-creation. This is not about becoming Nietzsche, but about discovering the Übermensch within you in your own unique way. Prepare to engage, to question, and to affirm. Let's begin. Day 1-2, embracing the camel's burden and beyond. Remember the camel, strong and dutiful, carrying the heavy burdens of tradition and thou shalt. For the first 2 days of our plan, we invite you to consciously acknowledge the camel within you. Your task is to identify one societal should or unexamined assumption that you currently live by. This isn't about identifying a moral imperative, but rather a belief or expectation handed down by society, family, or culture that you've adopted without much critical thought. Perhaps it's a particular career path you feel obligated to pursue, a certain lifestyle you feel pressured to maintain, an appearance standard you strive for, or even an opinion you parrot because it's socially accepted. Once you've identified it, take the time to question it deeply. Write down not just what this should is, but why you follow it. Is it out of genuine conviction, or simply because it's always been done that way? Is it fear of judgment, a desire for approval, or just sheer inertia? Be honest with yourself. There's no right or wrong answer here, only the powerful act of self-awareness. This 2-day reflection allows you to fully feel the weight of these burdens, making you acutely aware of where your camel is currently walking. This mindful observation is the crucial first step toward true liberation. Day 3-4, Unleashing the Lion's Roar. Having identified one of your camels, it's time to call upon the spirit of the lion. The lion, as you know, is the spirit of freedom, the majestic no against inherited values. It's the power to assert your own will, to carve your own path. For days 3 and 4, your action is to say no to one small thing that subtly drains your energy or diminishes your spirit. This doesn't have to be a grand, life-altering refusal. It could be saying no to an unnecessary meeting, declining an invitation that doesn't genuinely excite you, switching off social media during certain hours, or even refusing to engage in negative self-talk. Identify one such energy drain, however small, and consciously choose to redirect that energy. Once you've said no to that draining activity, use the time and energy you've reclaimed for something that genuinely empowers or energizes you. This is not about being selfish, but about self-preservation and self-creation. Perhaps it's reading a book, going for a walk, spending time on a passion project, or simply enjoying a moment of quiet reflection. By saying no to what lessens you, you create space to say a more resounding yes to what elevates you. This practice strengthens your inner lion, building your capacity for self-determination and the forging of your own values. Day 5, Embracing the Child's Sacred Yeah. Now, with the burdens shed and the freedom asserted, we arrive at the playful and affirming spirit of the child. The child is pure innocence, a new beginning, a sacred yea to life itself. It creates value out of nothing, driven by an inherent joy in the act of creation. On day 5, your task is to engage in a creative act with absolutely no goal of productivity or external validation. This is crucial. It's not about creating a masterpiece to sell or to impress, but simply about the pure, unadulterated joy of creation for its own sake. Let go of judgment, let go of expectations. Whether it's doodling aimlessly in a notebook, dancing freely to your favorite music in your living room, writing a silly poem, humming a tune, playing with Lego, or simply arranging some objects in an aesthetically pleasing way, the medium doesn't matter. What matters is the spontaneous, joyful expression of your inner world without the burden of shoulds or musts. Allow yourself to play, to explore, to create simply because it feels good. This reconnects you with the fundamental affirmation of the child, reminding you that life, at its core, can be a game of joyful creation. Day 6-7, The Weight and Joy of Eternal Recurrence and Amar Fati. We culminate our week with Nietzsche's most profound and challenging concept, eternal recurrence, and its accompanying virtue, amar fati, the love of one's fate. This isn't a prediction, but a thought experiment, a litmus test for how fully you live your life. For days 6 and 7, at the end of each day, as you reflect on the hours gone by, we invite you to pose the recurrence question to yourself: if every moment of this day, just as it occurred, with all its joys and sorrows, its triumphs and disappointments, were destined to repeat itself eternally, would I greet it with a joyous affirmation, desiring to live it again and again? More practically, break this down. Identify one moment from your day that you would joyfully repeat exactly as it happened. Perhaps it was a genuine laugh, a moment of connection, a productive hour, a beautiful sight, or a simple feeling of contentment. Savor that moment, affirming its existence and wishing for its eternal return. Then, identify one moment or experience from your day that you would wish to change or that caused you discomfort. This isn't about regret, but about honest self-assessment. However, instead of dwelling on negativity, consider how you might approach such a moment differently if it were to recur. More importantly, practice amor fati by trying to understand how even that challenging moment contributed to your growth, your learning, or your unique experience. Can you find a way to love even that moment, not because it was pleasant, but because it was part of your life, an indispensable thread in the tapestry of who you are becoming? This practice cultivates a profound acceptance and affirmation of your entire existence, empowering you to live each day with intention, knowing that you would wish for its eternal return. This 7-day journey is a microcosm of a lifelong endeavor. It's designed to be a starting point, a catalyst for deeper introspection and more intentional living. Don't simply complete these tasks, truly engage with them. Let Zarathustra's spirit awaken the camel, the lion, and the child within you, guiding you toward a more courageous, creative, and affirming existence. The path to becoming who you are is a continuous journey, and your first steps are taken now. All right, we've journeyed through the mountains and valleys of Zarathustra's profound wisdom, explored the depths of Nietzsche's provocative ideas, and wrestled with concepts that challenge the very foundations of how we perceive ourselves and the world. It's been a truly transformative philosophical exploration, as all truly powerful thought should be. Now, as we stand at the precipice of understanding, let's distill this entire experience, this dense tapestry of insight, into 3 core takeaways, 3 essential pillars that you can truly internalize and carry with you as you navigate the complexities of your own existence. These aren't merely abstract philosophical concepts. They are actionable insights designed to empower you, to ignite that spark of the Übermensch within and reshape your understanding of freedom and responsibility in a deeply personal way. Our first core takeaway from Thus Spoke Zarathustra is this: overcome yourself. Nietzsche doesn't preach a static state of being. He champions a dynamic, relentless process of self-mastery and continuous evolution. Remember Zarathustra's 3 iconic metamorphoses of the spirit. First, there is the camel, burdened by duty, reverently carrying the heavy weight of traditional morality and societal expectations, dutifully accepting "thou shalt." This is often where many of us begin our journey, obedient and conforming to external dictates. But true growth demands more than mere compliance. From the arduous path of the camel emerges the powerful lion, a spirit of fierce rebellion, roaring "I will!" defiantly rejecting external authorities, courageously shattering old, inherited values, and fighting for its sacred freedom in the vast desert of its own making. The lion is magnificent, but its strength is primarily in destruction, in clearing the ground for what is to come. Yet, even the lion, in its glorious defiance, is not the final stage. The ultimate transformation, the zenith of self-overcoming, is into the child, a radiant symbol of innocence, radical new beginnings, and sacred affirmation. The child is the quintessential creator, a playful spirit inventing new values spontaneously and embracing life with a joyous, unburdened spirit, uttering the ultimate yes to existence itself. This profound journey from the dutiful follower to the defiant rebel, and finally to the creative spirit, is the very essence of self-overcoming. It's a compelling call to constantly evaluate your perspectives, to challenge your own perceived limitations, to bravely shed outdated versions of yourself, and to ceaselessly strive for a higher, more authentic being. So I urge you to ask yourself, with profound honesty and unwavering courage, where are you right now on this extraordinary journey of metamorphosis? Are you still carrying burdens you no longer truly need? Are you roaring your defiance, powerfully clearing your unique path? Or are you dancing in the moment, creating your own values with the innocent, uninhibited joy of a child? Your answer is not a judgment, but rather a vital starting point for your next exhilarating transformation. Our second profound takeaway, deeply intertwined with the first, is to create a life worth repeating. This isn't about pursuing a life of superficial pleasures or fleeting comforts, but rather one of profound meaning, deep integrity, and unwavering affirmation. Nietzsche introduces us to the harrowing yet ultimately liberating thought experiment of eternal recurrence. Imagine for a sobering moment that this life, precisely as you are living it right now, with all its exquisite joys and piercing sorrows, its triumphant successes and humbling failures, its every trivial detail and monumental decision, will recur infinitely. Every single moment, every feeling, every thought, every interaction, all of it will repeat exactly as it is for all eternity. This isn't intended as a literal prediction of the cosmos. It's a powerful, existential test for your very soul. Faced with this terrifying yet exhilarating prospect, would you truly wish for this precise cycle to repeat endlessly? Or would the mere thought of it fill you with dread, regret, and utter despair? The test of eternal recurrence isn't meant to paralyze you with fear. It's meant to be the ultimate, uncompromising compass for your choices and actions. It forces you to confront the intrinsic quality of your existence, to scrutinize your deepest values, and to weigh the authenticity and courage of your actions. It's an invitation to live with such an intense passion, such unwavering integrity, and such a profound love for your fate, your amor fati, that if the demon were to whisper the words, "You must live this life again and again, for all eternity," your response would be an unhesitating, resounding yes. It's a powerful call to make every choice count, to craft a life so rich in intrinsic meaning and so deeply affirmed by your own courageous will that you would wholeheartedly embrace its eternal return with joy and gratitude, not resignation. Finally, our third crucial takeaway from Zarathustra's enduring wisdom is to be your own guide. Zarathustra, despite being a prophet and a powerful teacher, ultimately tells his disciples to find their own way. He intentionally leaves them, urging them not to cling to him or his specific teachings, but rather to create their own paths, their own values, and their own understanding of truth. This is perhaps Nietzsche's most radical and liberating message for us in the modern age. The greatest wisdom doesn't come from external authority, be it religious texts, rigid philosophical systems, prevailing societal norms, or even the eloquent words of Zarathustra himself. True, authentic wisdom is found in the arduous, often solitary process of self-discovery and relentless self-creation. Philosophy, in Nietzsche's dynamic view, is not a dogma to be blindly accepted or a static set of rules to be dutifully followed. Instead, it is a powerful, liberating toolkit, a collection of unique lenses, provocative concepts, and rigorous thought experiments designed to help you dismantle your inherited beliefs, courageously question your deepest assumptions, and ultimately construct your own authentic, deeply personal worldview. It provides the necessary hammer to smash old idols, the precise chisel to sculpt your own values from the raw material of existence, and the reliable compass to navigate the uncharted, thrilling territories of your own boundless potential. Do not let any guru, any prevailing tradition, or any predefined path dictate the unique contours of your existence. Engage critically and actively with ideas, absorb what truly resonates with your spirit, bravely discard what doesn't serve your highest self, and then, most importantly, venture forth to fearlessly create your own meaning, to become the true architect of your own soul and destiny. The path to the Übermensch is not prescribed, it is courageously forged by each individual, step by courageous step, into the exhilarating unknown. Be brave enough to think for yourself, to feel for yourself, and to create for yourself. This, my friends, is the ultimate freedom, the ultimate responsibility, and indeed, the ultimate joy of a truly Nietzschean life. These three takeaways: overcome yourself, create a life worth repeating, and be your own guide, are not just abstract ideas to passively ponder, they are profound, urgent invitations to live with intention, courage, and authenticity. They challenge us to embrace the terrifying freedom of radical self-creation, to passionately forge our own values in a world that often seeks to impose them, and to live with such intensity and profound affirmation that we would wholeheartedly welcome the eternal return of every single moment of our existence. Nietzsche, through his vibrant mouthpiece Zarathustra, doesn't give us comfortable answers. He gives us powerful, life-altering questions that demand we become the answers ourselves through our deeds, our choices, and our very being. May your journey be one of continuous overcoming, joyful creation, and fearless self-guidance, leading you to an authentic and deeply affirmed existence that you would, without hesitation, wish to live eternally. We have journeyed together through the soaring peaks and profound valleys of Zarathustra's wisdom, wrestling with concepts that demand not just our attention, but a fundamental re-evaluation of who we are and who we might become. This exploration is not a passive intellectual exercise, it is a catalyst, a clarion call to action for the spirit. Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, invites us not merely to understand, but to do, to create, to transcend. The path ahead, the path of self-overcoming, is intensely personal, yet it thrives in shared inquiry and courageous honesty. Now, as you stand at the precipice of these transformative ideas, I invite you to take the first crucial step in embodying this philosophy. This journey begins not with grand declarations, but with a single deliberate act of creation. So, I pose this question to you, to ponder deeply within yourself, and if you feel inclined, to share your insight with our growing community in the comments below. What is the one value you want to create for yourself this month? Not a value inherited, not a value imposed, but a value you actively forge, a principle born from your own will and vision. Perhaps it's a commitment to radical honesty with yourself, a dedication to a neglected passion, the cultivation of a unique strength, or the courageous shedding of an old, limiting belief. This isn't about adopting a pre-packaged virtue, it's about carving out a new facet of your own becoming, a testament to your sovereign spirit. Share your intention, and let us witness the diverse and evolving landscape of individual creation. If this deep dive into Zarathustra has offered you a fresh lens through which to view your own existence, if it has sparked a new thought, challenged an old assumption, or simply ignited a flicker of inspiration on your personal odyssey, I encourage you to show your appreciation by hitting that like button. Your engagement signals that these discussions matter, that the pursuit of profound philosophical understanding is alive and well, resonating with those who dare to think differently. And if you yearn for more such expeditions into the heart of wisdom, presented not as dry academic lectures, but as vibrant, humanized philosophy that speaks directly to the lived experience, then do subscribe to this channel. Join our community as we continue to unravel the complexities of thought, making the profound accessible and the abstract profoundly relevant. We are building a space where ancient and modern ideas converge to illuminate your personal path to greater self-awareness and strength. Moreover, the journey of self-discovery is often illuminated by the shared light of kindred spirits. If you know someone who is wrestling with life's big questions, who is charting their own course beyond conventional boundaries, someone who is truly on a journey of self-discovery and perhaps feels a little alone on that path, consider sharing this video with them. It might be the very spark they need to deepen their own quest, to find solidarity in the pursuit of their authentic self, or to simply engage in a stimulating conversation that expands both your horizons. Philosophy at its best is a dialogue, an ongoing conversation that evolves and enriches all who participate. Be a catalyst for that conversation in someone else's life. As we conclude this segment, let us carry with us the ultimate challenge from Zarathustra himself, a potent reminder of the solitary yet infinitely rewarding path of self-creation, a truth that underscores everything we've explored. Now I bid you lose me and find yourselves, and only when you have all denied me will I return to you. Go forth then. Lose the external master, deny the imposed paths, and in that courageous act, truly find yourselves. For in your own unique becoming lies the greatest affirmation of life.